Blah, 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 blah. I didn't check to see if you were ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. Are you ready?
I think so.
You don't look very ready.
Did you order one of those big giant sports signs?
Big giant sports signs.
You know, the one that has the countdown clock on both sides that's cost $600?
Oh, the $300 thing? No, I didn't. One of our listeners sent us a website that you can use to create a timer, and I guess it syncs across. You can send people a link and it'll sync across multiple things. So we could just each have that up on our iPad.
Nope.
But I'd rather have a 3-foot LED sign. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, no, it needs to be much more complicated than that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just going to have to build it. It's the only solution.
And yeah, I don't really know another way.
Yeah, someday. In the meantime, we'll just have to, take a wild guess and see how long the show goes.
Hey, I mean, what is this, episode 130 or something? Maybe we're figuring it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's getting worse over time. Who knows?
Honestly, nobody.
Nobody.
Maybe there's a few people who maybe have listened to all the episodes and they can tell us it was getting worse over time.
Fair.
Otherwise, there's not really any way to know.
That's true.
Unknowable. Okay, pre-show. It's race week.
Isn't it always race week?
What? No.
Depends on what kind of race, I guess.
I guess so. Well, it's race week this week.
Okay.
And I don't just mean that we're recording this the same week as the Japan F1 Grand Prix, which may or may not date this podcast.
Yeah.
It's also the week of the 10K. I'm going to run a 10K on Sunday.
Oh, is this the Austin?
The Capital 10K, yes.
The Capital 10K. Mm-hmm. Nice. That's fun.
Yeah. I'm just going to get out there.
Get out there and run that 10K.
Run a 10K.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Easy.
And easy peasy, right? After you run a marathon, it's just a stroll in the park.
Yeah, literally. What's your target? What are you trying to beat?
I'm trying to run a sub 60.
Yeah.
I'm super slow. Yep. And I know that for some people it's table stakes. What are you talking about? I run a 60-minute 10K just when I go for a walk.
Yep. I mean, some people probably run a sub 60 20K.
Yeah. No. Yep. Yeah. I think some people do that. No. Well, maybe. Yeah. It's
maybe doable.
That's real. That's
it's fast.
We're talking world record.
Yeah.
We're talking really, really fast. But no, people are going to run this thing in 37 minutes, and it's going to be stupid.
Yep. Not you.
No, I'm going to run it in 59 minutes and 50 seconds. Hopefully.
Fingers
crossed.
You need to beat my time from the time I ran that 10K.
I've already beat your time whenever you ran the 10K.
And have you beat it in an actual race?
Last time I ran this, I ran it in a 108, but that's not my
time.
No, I ran it in a 110.
Still didn't beat my time.
My fastest is a 108 or 107.
I ran it in 107. So.
You ran a 107?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I'm going to beat you by 10 minutes.
Yeah, me in 2017. You're still trying to catch up.
I'm sorry that I'm just not as fast as you, Daniel. Sorry.
What's the weather supposed to be like?
Horrible. Awful.
Hot?
Right now it's a balmy 82 degrees. It's beautiful outside. I think day of, cold front's going to roll in, so it's going to be 52 degrees with a wind chill of 38.
It'll probably be raining.
It's just going to be cold and windy and horrible.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the Camera Gear Podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're here today to talk about the gear, software, and techniques we use to shoot photos and video.
We had a listener write in, and they shared their Instagram to show off some pictures, but they wrote in about the Ultra Lab oh my gosh, I can't do it. Dang it. The Nonacore 50mm 1.2 that we talked about, which is that knocked off lens. And they wrote in, and I was like, oh no, what bad things did I say about that lens? Because I couldn't remember whether or not we were positive or negative on it. I honestly just don't even remember. I can imagine what kind of opinions I would have had.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, someone wrote in and was like, hey man, I have this lens and I use it all the time and use it for concert stuff, and it's super good for what I use it for, and I think that at wide open it gives me some really interesting images, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, I think that was good feedback. It's good to hear from someone who's like, I'm actively using this lens, and yeah, it's not like super perfect at 1.2, but also it gives me really interesting images, and I love all the pictures that I get out of it.
For sure. And like, we haven't tested this lens, so getting those perspectives is kind of nice. It's surprised how cheap it is. I just looked it up. I didn't realize it was $400.
Yeah, it's not too expensive. I do think that, for Fujifilm, because this person was shooting on X-T4, the Viltrox, if you like that, the Viltrox 75 1.2, it's like $100 more. Probably better image quality.
The image quality of that lens is very good.
Yeah, it's very good, and the autofocus is like native. The Nocti Nonacore whatever is it's a manual focus lens, and so like you kind of have to deal with that. Like for me, that 75 1.2 is almost a better buy. I mean, but it's also longer, right? It's not really a 1-to-1.
Sure. So. I mean, I think of it as basically like as a native lens. I mean, it has an aperture ring. It autofocuses super fast. It's like build quality is really good. There's not much different about it from using like a native Fuji lens.
I think that the one thing in the favor of the Ultralab is the character to it. As far as it's the Viltrox is going to be a lot cleaner, and also it's tighter, so you're going to get lower depth of field and more compression, that sort of thing. But if you're looking for something that's maybe a little more, I wouldn't even want to say dreamy, but because like the photos are pretty good, but like it does have a certain like look to the fall off and that sort of thing. So I thought it was cool that a cool listener who has actually been using this lens wrote in, and I don't know, maybe everything I said was wrong. Yeah. Let's just go with that. Everything I said in the other episode, totally wrong. Not too bad of a lens.
Yep. What a great look for us, right?
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
Yes.
Keep on or whatever. Yep. I don't know.
Yeah. Please send us your feedback on things that we talk about that you have used.
Yes. And also things that Daniel's wrong about. Okay. Next thing. Have you seen this next article?
Yes, I have.
Oh my gosh, Daniel.
I thought about sending it to you. I figured you would come across it eventually anyway. And I figured you'd have opinions.
This is a lot. It's a lot. Just, Can you say what it is? I can't do it.
You just can't do it. Yeah, so the bright part of this news is that it sounds like the Pentax 17 has sold really well. Seems like it's been a successful product for Ricoh/Pentax.
I mean, it was our film camera of the year 2024.
I mean, that's probably half the reason it sold well.
We have a huge impact on the market.
All the coverage it got on this podcast, and you have yours and you like it. But unfortunately, it sounds like the lead designer is leaving the company.
He didn't say where he was going.
Yeah. Like, do you think he'll go somewhere else to design film cameras?
Is he leaving the company because they don't want to make more film cameras? Or is he leaving the company and because of that, they're not going to make any more film cameras?
That's the question. It could be either, right?
I don't know which one it is.
Like, what if this guy's mission in life is to design like modern film cameras? And Ricoh just doesn't want to support him in that mission.
I'll support him in that mission. I mean, if he comes out here and he's like, guys, here's a Kickstarter, and I'm going to make a medium format film camera. Yes, sign me up.
I mean, if there's one thing you like, it's a good Kickstarter.
Whew, boy, oh man, top 10.
So I haven't read this article in a while, but for some reason, I thought it kind of came across like Ricoh wasn't saying they weren't going to make film cameras anymore, but it kind of sounded like, there isn't one like on the near horizon. And this is kind of additional news that sort of like supports the idea that whether they are or are not making film cameras in the future, like we're probably not going to get one this year.
Right. Exactly. It is not really declaring one way or the other. It is a matter of this main designer left and it doesn't bode well, and they're not really like, TBD, who knows?
Yeah.
It is a huge bummer to me to think that the Pentax 17 is a one-off, and that they maybe, I mean, it seemed like they were going to start ramping down productions, or that there wasn't maybe enough interest in these kind of cameras for Pentax. So
yeah, that's a bummer.
I guess I'm curious to see where the designer goes. I can't remember his name. It was like TKO or something or whatever. Anyway, curious to see where it goes, and if like we should start following camera designers around like they're celebrities.
Yeah. Just started our.
Is he like the Johnny Ive of film cameras?
Yeah, maybe he's starting his own company to make bespoke film cameras.
Sure, why not? Why not?
Who knows?
I was just very, very depressed.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Huge bummer. What I don't even know what Pentax is going to do now.
Yeah, you don't even care about them if they don't make film cameras.
Yeah, you know what? Last year, really bullish on Pentax.
Mm-hmm.
This year, care less. Pentax who? That's what I say.
Pentax who? That'd be a good title for a podcast.
Just put that in there. Okay. All right. Next thing here, RED/Nikon dropped the price again of the original RED Komodo to $3,000.
Yeah, this was. I mean, that price is low enough that you look at it and you're like, wait, what? Like, that's a pretty low price. You know, sometimes you see these things and it's like, oh, the $7,000 camera is now $6,000. And it kind of feels like, well, fine, but that's still not in my price range. With this, it feels like it went from being a camera that would be on the like very, very upper side of my price range to I could see myself spending $3,000 on a camera.
I can't decide whether this is good or bad.
Well, what makes you say that?
Okay, so he's like, it's not bad. To a certain extent, you don't necessarily want to buy like the old thing, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you want to buy the newer thing because of features and whatever. The Komodo X exists, and I believe the Komodo X, they switched to Z-mount. Is that correct?
I think that's correct.
So the Komodo X exists. It's better than the original 6K Komodo in many ways, except that I do not believe it's global sensor. If you need a global sensor, the original Komodo 6K is the one to go with.
Mm-hmm. And the Komodo X is like $6,000 or $7,000, I think.
Correct. It's more expensive. It comes with a lot more features as far as it supports the DSMC3 pogo pin thing, and it's like a newer, better camera.
Yep.
This has a lot of the feeling of they're trying to clear the inventory.
Yeah, for sure.
This $3,000 Komodo still has an RF mount on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was released 5 years ago. Like it's not a new camera. There's newer, better things from RED. However, it's still a RED. And is a 5-year-old RED at half its original price still good enough to compete with something like a Pixis, which costs the same?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the question that immediately came to mind for me. And I feel like where RED's coming from with this is, like you said, they want to clear stock, but also if you can get some people to buy in at $3,000, maybe they really enjoy using the camera, and maybe it makes them more likely to, stay in RED's system, and maybe people that would never have bought in at $7,000 would buy in at $3,000, use it for a while, and then upgrade. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, you would be in RF mount.
Yeah.
You could be using PL, and then you would get the Z to PL instead of the RF to PL, and maybe that's fine, or Z to EF and that kind of thing.
I mean, definitely the lens mount is the problem. And honestly, like, I think it's one of the biggest differences between the Komodo and the Komodo X. Like, if you were going to be buying a new camera, I'd sure be thinking, like, do I really want to get into RF mount? And maybe for some people, it's the right answer. Like, if you already have RF mount, or if you're excited about some of Canon's other cameras, then it may be a great choice. But it's definitely a big difference between the two.
I think that's work-aroundable, if that makes sense. People who shoot RED are probably going to want to shoot with cinema lenses, which are generally going to be PL mount.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to adapt that regardless. And whether or not it's native RF or native Z, that maybe matters less. People are going to be shooting a lot of manual focus lenses. This does have face detect, but I mean, that's really most of a matter of just kind of getting your initial focus. I don't think people are really caring about the autofocus on this camera.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think this is now the cheapest global sensor video camera that you can buy.
Interesting. I could see that. I can't think of what else there would be. So
no, I mean, that's it. It's like, to just that makes it still really appealing, I think.
Yeah.
I think obviously you're going to get a little loss in dynamic range, but nothing crazy. It's still fairly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This is still using CFast. They haven't switched to like, this was before CF Express B, basically. It can shoot in like 6K up to 40 frames per second. It can shoot in 2K up to 120 frames per second. In traditional RED fashion, there's no like oversamples. It's either you're shooting the full 6K width or you're cropping all the way down.
Yeah.
It's Super 35, not full frame, which is generally fine. It can shoot ProRes.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Not just RAW. So you get RED RAW or ProRes.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to have that option. Sure wish other companies making compact cinema cameras would give a similar option.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So I did do like a quick comparison here with the Pixis, since you're going to have to decide which of these you want to buy. So Super 35 versus full frame. It's obviously worth thinking about. L mount versus RF mount is another factor, and it kind of depends on like what ecosystem you want to be in. The Komodo only had a single base ISO, which was at 800. The Pixis has a dual base ISO, so you get 400 and 3200. That's going to make it a little better in low light because you're going to be able to run at that higher base ISO. Mm-hmm. And also it's full frame. You do get more stops on dynamic range on the RED with a signal to noise ratio of like 2. You're looking at like 12.5 versus 11.7. And then overall it's kind of like 13.5 versus 13 versus 12 kind of thing. You're getting half a stop ish more dynamic range,
which is probably good considering it's Super 35.
Yeah,
slightly makes up for that.
I mean, it seems like the fast Super 35 sensors are just better at dynamic range, and that's like the C70, the XH2S, and the RED Komodo, which probably no one's ever said those are cameras in the same sentence. But all of them are Super 35 APS-C size cameras that get very good dynamic range compared to their full frame counterparts.
That's true.
And it's because they can read out faster. So
that's true.
Need for speed or whatever. The record modes are basically the same. Like, I think you can get 6K 30 off of the Pixis and 6K 40 off of the RED. And you can shoot, cropped versions of that into a bunch of different formats, but basically they both do 6K RAW. Mm-hmm. RED RAW is probably going to be a little more flexible as far as your NLE choices. And then you can also shoot in ProRes. So I think that the RED is a more flexible choice. But the data rates of those two, like compressed RED RAW versus like Blackmagic RAW, it's almost the same. Mm-hmm. Like if you're shooting like 1:3 or 1:5 or whatever. So
without looking anything up, my assumption is the RED would cost more to rig out.
Yeah, that's
I feel like
fair.
Everything with RED is expensive for one thing, and even stuff like getting a monitor, etc. I feel like it would be cheaper to get the Pixis up and running.
I think it's more of a matter of if you're going to use any of the RED stuff. Like you can mount whatever you want to the RED.
True.
So I would think that you could make it such that all things are equal. And the RED doesn't support the DC. This RED doesn't support the DCMS3 pogo pin thing where you can slap a monitor onto it and you don't have to plug in any cables.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that didn't come till the Komodo X. Mm-hmm. So like you're not even getting the advantage of buying a $6,000 RED monitor and using it. Like it probably wouldn't matter for something like this.
Yeah, interesting. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So which one of these do you want, Dan? Which one are you going to get? You're going to go RED Komodo or are you going to go Pixis?
My feeling on this is, I mean, obviously I'm heavily invested in L mount at this point. I have 5 L mount lenses right now. Do you realize that? That's a lot of lenses.
You have more L mount lenses than I have X mount lenses.
I have more L mount lenses than I have X mount lenses.
Okay, that's the more true statement.
Yes.
You do not have more.
I know.
I probably have more lenses total.
You have more primes than I do. More primes than I do lenses. It's true. Don't try to think about it too much. You know it's true. So I mean, like, there's that. But the other thing I've thought about, like with my camera choice, is that the lenses that I have for L mount are not really the lenses that I would want to put on like a cinema type camera.
No, they're not.
I mean, I have the 85 prime and the Sigma 45 has some characters. Like those are possibilities, but realistically, if I was getting a cinema type camera, I would either be getting some primes or at least like a 24-70. And those are things I don't have on L mount. So For me, it's not as much of a consideration, but I do feel like L mount has more of a future than RF, or at least like there will be more companies making lenses for it. So I'm kind of like more interested in that. But the idea of
L mount has a bigger future than RF.
That's what I said. Yeah. More people, you got like Sigma making lenses. All these other companies have been joining the L mount alliance. I don't know.
That's bold.
Yeah.
Bold. 5. I think I have 5 primes.
So that's the same number of L mount lenses I have.
It feels like I'm missing something. 16, 23, 56, 80, 44-2. And that's it.
That's a surprisingly low number of
primes. Because I gave away the nifty 50.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Oh, no, wait. That's right. I'm forgetting the film cameras.
23,
50, the Minolta 50. 9.
9 primes. Yeah, I think you win.
Yes.
Anyway, I feel like the Pixis is the more modern camera, and I like L mount better, but the idea of owning a RED camera is kind of appealing.
It would be cool. I mean, you get some street cred. It doesn't matter how old it is. You roll up and you got a RED. Man,
yep.
You're getting bigger jobs, Daniel.
That's true. And people do talk about Reds, having like really good colors and, Red Raw being good and all that. So it'd be a good camera.
I also just wanted to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that too. One thing I wanted to mention in reference to this is that today news came out that Nikon trademarked the Z Cinema name.
What?
And people are wondering, what does this mean? What do we? What could be coming in 2025? So
I'm interested.
Might be some interesting stuff happening. And as we record this, NAB is right around the corner. So I'm not saying they would announce something immediately, but if they're going to announce something, you'd want to trademark your name before you do that. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what Nikon's up to.
Man, you're just gonna have to you're gonna have to wait. Don't buy a RED Komodo right now. Wait for NAB.
Okay.
Unless they all sell out. I mean, that could happen.
I can probably wait till the end of the week before I buy a RED Komodo.
I keep looking to see if a RED Komodo 6K used, like if that market's tanked yet.
Oh yeah.
Because if the new one's $3,000, I mean, there's people are still selling it for more than $3,000 used.
Well, if I was selling something like that, I feel like the trick I would use is I'd include some accessories and try and make it seem like that was what made it worth the extra money.
Yeah, if I could scoop one of these puppies up for $2,000, I'm not saying I wouldn't.
I mean, it'll happen eventually. It's just a matter of like whether it will happen on a time frame where you'd want to use it for actual work. Because you can get on eBay and find cheap, like really old RED cameras.
That's true. That falls into our non-sanctioned segment of old cinema cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I should go look up some old like Monstros, and we can talk about what movies they were shot with, and we can bring that segment back.
I think like Caleb Pike, a DSLR video shooter, I think he made some videos one time on a RED that he got for like $1,000 or something on eBay, and it seemed pretty good.
Sick. Well, soon you'll be able to get your RED Komodo 6K.
Yeah, I saw Blackmagic has their event scheduled, so it's a couple days from now, and we will talk about it. Probably in the next episode.
When's the Panasonic thing?
There is no date for a Panasonic thing, so who knows?
We talked about the PowerShot V1. Like 2 weeks ago, I think at this point. And whenever we talked about it, it was before the U.S. release, and now there has been a U.S. release. And I listened back to that episode, and we spent like 15 minutes talking about Sony and L rumors instead of the PowerShot V1.
We did talk about it a little bit.
It was like PowerShot V1, and I'm like, man, we talked about this for like another 20 minutes now.
Yep.
No, we talked about Sony and Panasonic.
Yep. As we do. Still think that's a cool camera.
Sure. They released the R50 V along with the V1 for the US release. Did they not release the R50 V for the Asian markets?
I didn't see it before now.
Is it a worldwide release for the R50 V? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, they did. They did it, Daniel.
This is a weird looking camera.
It's super neat. It's like really tiny. It reminds me of those, what is it? The Blackmagic, like power zoom type cameras, those like power tilt zoom ones that you just kind of There's like little tiny dumb cameras and you stick them places,
Oh,
like
yeah.
stage cams or whatever.
Yeah, like a micro studio camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so basically Canon released this R50 V that's actually in their cinema line, but this camera's like $650. So
it's also a C camera?
I think so. I think they call it like part of their cinema line.
Weird.
And when you look at it, it has kind of like a squared off type design. Like it sort of looks like FX30-ish kind of. And it has like a front record button and all this stuff. And like, it's a very different camera than most of what Canon has released.
True. I am now looking up a not XF. What's the name of the thing? The third Z. What? What'd you say it looks like?
I said it looked like an FX30.
FX30. I have to look that up now. So I was doing some size comparisons to. I know what FX30 is. That's not why I'm looking it up. Stop it. I was doing some size comparisons because this thing is like mega tiny, and so I was wondering, comparatively, how big is it to other super compact cameras? It is bigger than a Sigma FP still.
Which Sigma FP, I guess that's a pretty small camera.
It's still remarkably tiny, but I have now found a Sony FX30, which is 5 by 5.1 by 3.1 by 3.3 in inches.
I'm sure the FX30 is bigger than this.
It is bigger. It is notably bigger. But that one also has a fan. The R50 V does not have a fan.
Mm-hmm.
The R50 V is basically an R50 without a viewfinder and more cinema features, kind of.
I think it. Yeah, I think it has some cinema features that aren't on the R50.
It definitely has the live view stuff, like the live streaming, wireless wired live streaming features that came with the PowerShot V1.
Yep.
It will do those things too.
Also, false color.
Yeah, it has false color.
That's something that your Fuji X-H2S does not have.
Yeah. Yep, it's because Fujifilm doesn't care about me, Daniel. They just don't care about me.
What are the go through some
anyways, okay, sorry. No, I'm talking about the size.
All right, well,
even though
talk about the size.
It does have a 1/4-20 on the grip side and on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so you can take like the what is it? Like the vlog tripod thing where you can like start and stop record or whatever. You can take that, you can mount it to the grip side and go totally vertical.
Yep. I mean, as much as we like to make fun of it, a lot of video now is vertical, so it's kind of cool that they include that as a like a first class feature.
I mean, you do that, slap it on the tripod, turn on the live stream, you are going.
Yep. And
they added a bunch of like modes, like color modes kind of thing. I didn't do a whole list like I did for the Sigma BF camera, but you can think it's more than just like vivid or whatever. They added like 13 different filters, I guess. I don't know. It's probably dumb. Anyways, doesn't have an EVF. It's 370 grams and it's like 4.5 inches by like 3.5 inches by 3 inches. And so that means that it is just slightly smaller than a Lumix S9, but not wildly so, just like minorly smaller.
And it's APS-C versus full frame on the S9.
Right, this is APS-C. It is a smidge smaller than the PowerShot V1 in most dimensions, except for like the width.
But it doesn't have a lens.
But it doesn't have a lens, so like, sure. And then it is a little bigger than a Sigma FP, but it's still like really small. Yeah. It's a really small camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, honestly, it kind of makes me wonder, like, why get the PowerShot V1 when this exists?
It's the lenses. If you need something that you can stick in your pocket and has the lens with, you don't have to deal with swapping lenses, and you need something that's literally pocketable, that's where you go PowerShot V1. If you need a bigger sensor, so lower noise, and the option to swap lenses, you go with this. The PowerShot V1 is more expensive. It's like $900.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, this camera seems more capable, like, especially because you can swap lenses. Like, it just gives you a lot more, like, future growth options. And I like the design of it a little bit better. And, I mean, it seems like it gives you a lot of the same features. It has a larger sensor. That's another thing that's, like, maybe pretty meaningful. And, yeah, I mean, like, I think the PowerShot V1's a cool camera, but I would probably be more interested in this.
This is almost Canon's cheapest camera. They make the R100, which is like fixed back screen, looks like a DSLR.
That's like a toy.
Basically, nobody should buy it camera, and it's $600.
Yeah.
If you don't need the EVF, for $50 more, there's this, the R50 V. So it's $50 less expensive than an R50, which has a viewfinder, but no viewfinder, better video specs for $650. It's the same sensor that you're going to find in the R100 and the R50, which is a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. That's a 1.6 crop. It can shoot full width 4K 30, 4K 24, and that's oversampled 4K. So like you can't shoot OpenGate 6K. You can't get a full 6K readout on this thing, but it is going to be full width whenever it's shooting 4K. So they're going to oversample, downsample to 4K. You can get that in like 250 megabit per second. Long GOP doesn't have any all intra codecs, but you can still do a 250 megabit per second, long GOP, C-Log 3, oversampled 4K 30. That's going to be a decent image. 422 10-bit. Like that's going to be as good as anything that you're going to be able to buy under $1,500.
Yeah. I mean, video wise, if you're fitting within this, like if you don't need something it just totally doesn't offer, like 4K 60, I mean, yeah, I feel like, well, it does offer 4K 60.
It does do 4K 60. It's just at a 1.5 crop.
Yeah, but like, assuming that like these specs meet what you need, I feel like the quality you're going to get out of it is probably going to be really good.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be perfectly good.
I mean, 250 megabits is no joke. Like that's more than I shoot 4K 60 a lot of the time.
The video specs on this seem to outperform, say, like an A6400 comparatively, which is a camera that I'm pretty sure Sony still sells.
Yep.
Sure, they want you to buy the 6700, but that's way more expensive.
Yeah.
If your needs are satisfied by something that's, 4K 30 and you don't need all those extra like all intra codecs or ProRes or whatever, this is going to be pretty good, and it's super cheap.
So can you shoot photos on it?
Yeah, you can shoot photos.
Does it have a regular shutter?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I didn't actually look to see if it has a shutter. I'm going to say probably not a shutter.
Yeah.
It does have a multifunction hot shoe.
So maybe that could be a reason to go with the PowerShot V1. If like you're more, you want like 25% photos, 75% video, maybe the PowerShot V1's better. I don't know, but
or an R50.
Yeah.
Like if you want to shoot more photos, the R50 is $50 more, has an EVF and has interchangeable lenses. So they have the thing for you.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of people that this camera would make sense for. Like, if I'm a content creator and I want to like make videos for my Instagram, but I don't want to spend a lot of money and I still want it to be like a small camera that's not like this huge piece of equipment. Like this seems perfect to me.
So one of the things that they noted was that it has pro settings that are simplified on to appeal to that non-pro audience that wants a pro image. And so I took this picture of the mode dial and I put it here in our show notes. And I want you to just zoom in here on this mode dial and tell me what each of those modes does.
Well, I see C1, C2, and C3.
Did you notice that 5 of these, 6 of the modes all have little video cameras, but only one of them has legs?
I do see that.
Do you think that there's a difference between the video camera with legs and the video cameras that say C1, C2, C3?
I'm going to say probably not. I bet the one with legs is just like the generic video, like not a custom preset. But I want it to mean something.
But do you think it acts like a custom preset? Maybe that's tripod mode.
Well, that's what I wondered. Is this a specific thing for being on a tripod? But I bet it's just the standard video mode.
Okay, so you have 3 custom modes that all look like video cameras, and then you have a video camera that doesn't have letters on it that has legs.
Yes.
What else is on this thing?
Well, there's another more video cameras. There's 2 more. So
would you say this is video focus?
I would definitely say that. One says SCN. So I assume that I'm going to guess that's like, even beyond program mode, like the presets for like, cloudy day or whatever, like that type of thing, or like portrait, like those types of modes.
So like a product mode kind of thing.
Yeah, like that kind of, but maybe you go to that and then you can pick from like 5 options.
I would assume that this has some sort of, here is your low depth of field mode or whatever for specific scenes.
And then we've got the one that's actually selected in this picture is yet another camera. And this one says A+.
Okay.
So I think you use that one whenever you when you want your footage to be pre-graded. You don't know what to say to that, do you? You know I'm right.
I don't know, man. Like, is it aperture, but like aperture plus? Like it's even more than aperture?
It's already graded.
Or is it's like you get an A+. The footage that comes out, like if you want the best footage, like A+ footage, use this mode.
Like I'm looking at this dial and that says A+, and then there's another button like just past the dial that says live. And so I'm thinking like you switch that thing to A+, you press that live button, and like all of a sudden, you know, like you're streaming, you're getting all the viewers. Like that's all you have to do. It couldn't get much easier than that.
Maybe, but sure. You know what? That's probably all true.
Yep.
There's like what else is on here? There's two more modes.
There's a regular camera, which I assume is for photos.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like, you know, that looks the same. Like that's what the camera looks like. So, you know, it's like
sure, but it's not a video camera.
Yes.
That one doesn't have legs. There's no photo tripod
legs.
mode.
Yeah, no legs for that mode. And then we've got S and F, which I'm sure means slow and fast.
Slow and fast.
They probably can't use slow and quick because Sony probably trademarked that.
No, probably not. It took me a while to figure out what S and Q means on Sony cameras. Like embarrassingly long. What is an S and Q mode?
I see also there's a lock button on here. That's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, definitely a nice thing to have. Also has a tilt wide, so you can use a power zoom with it. It's got some wheels, got some buttons. Very compact. I just like I don't know what to do with this dial. Like I don't know what to do with the mode dial. I know what customs are, but I don't know why there's just a regular video camera. It's pro setting simplified, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
It is pretty cool though that on a camera this cheap you get 3 custom modes on the dial. I don't know if they all do that, but
yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that for sure. I think that the PowerShot V1 has like full manual and custom modes and stuff too.
I don't feel like a lock button is also something that you typically see on cameras at this price point. It seems like a more pro feature to me.
Yeah, is that like locks your settings?
Yeah, like locks the buttons. So
locks the buttons.
I mean, like not physically, but like you press that and then the buttons won't do anything until you press it again.
Well, that's handy.
Yeah, pretty nice feature. Like especially if you set everything the way you want, and then maybe like you're going into vlog mode where you have the camera flipped around. Then that way you're not accidentally hitting a button and changing your shutter speed or whatever. So kind of cool
for sure. Okay, a few other things. We talked about the live stream. It's got an HDMI port, single SD card slot. Fine for something like this.
It does not have a full-size HDMI, does it?
Micro HDMI. Yeah. It has a 1.4 million dot screen that's 3 inches, which is the only screen on this camera that feels like I guess it's a reasonable price cut, but also, man, it'd be nice if that was like 3.4 million dots.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to know looking at it that your real image is probably going to look better.
I understand cheaping out on the screen to save money. I just don't love it when it's the only screen on the camera, even at $650. Like this is the main way that people are going to see their footage.
Right. Well, I mean, hopefully not, right?
Yeah, I guess hopefully not. You're right. You know what? I take it all back. I take all that back.
They're not even going to look at it on the camera, man. Like you're not reviewing anything. You're picking that camera up. You're pressing the live button
and setting it in A+ mode.
Yeah, it's A+ mode. And maybe you'll like watch your stream back on Twitch or Instagram or whatever later. Like that's where you're gonna see it
for sure
on your 10 million dot phone screen.
I didn't look to see what the autofocus situation was with this. It has the Digitech 8 processor, which I think is the same thing that's in the R100 and the R50. I don't think it's maybe quite as good as like what you're going to see in like on R5 or whatever.
oh, you don't think that the $650 camera is going to have the same autofocus as an R5 Mark II?
No.
Yeah, probably a safe bet.
Yeah, no, but I'm sure that it's probably fine. So it has this live switch mode, which wasn't quite sure what that meant. So I copy and pasted some text directly from Canon here.
Just install the app.
Yeah, dude, you install the app on your phone and you can wirelessly stream up to 3 cameras. It's 3.
It's kind of cool.
And then you can switch between screens to help your viewers engage. You can show best angles, and it's simple to use. You can just buy 3 of these things, man.
Yeah.
Set it up, live stream.
3 lenses. and then just surround yourself with R50 Vs.
I do kind of appreciate that as a concept here, that if you need a cheap solution for live streaming, this plus the PowerShot V1 or a combination of thereof, like, cool. Like, you could buy this, get a low depth of field, like get the 50 millimeter 1.8 or f2 lens for less than, and then you have the two of them, like that lens plus this camera for less than $1,000. That can be your A shot. You get the PowerShot V1. That can be a B shot. You spent $2,000 on a full live stream setup.
I mean, like, making a lot of fun. I actually think this camera is really cool. And like, here's another example. Like, we keep kind of talking about it like it's for vloggers, Instagram influencers or something. But I mean, imagine like, you're part of an HOA and your HOA wants to like live stream meetings so that the people can watch online. Like, a camera like this would be perfect for that. Like, you get the camera, some kind of affordable lens, and then you can stream using the camera. Like, this is all you would need. Like, that's pretty cool.
It probably has some decent corporate applications as well. I talked about whenever I went to the Houston rodeo that they use a lot of those camcorders to live stream. Something like this would work like that too, if you wanted a top over easy shot.
What do you think about using it as a B cam for a more expensive RF cam? Like, say you have like an R5 Mark II or an R6 Mark II, through whatever the latest is. Like, you have a camera like in that range, and like, I want to add a B shot, but I don't want to break the bank to do it. I've already got some RF lenses. Like, I could see this being a reasonable thing to add on.
Yeah, it would be perfectly acceptable. I think you can get like 2 hours of record time. It's got a that LP6E or something battery, LPE17 battery, which is I think one of the smaller like R50 batteries, but even still, it'll do hour of record time, and then you can plug it in and record even longer. Yeah. I mean, that would totally work. I think it's completely reasonable. It's a nice like little cheap video camera that you can crash cam or live stream or get into something easy or carry around with you for low cost or whatever. It's nice to have a video focus option in this range.
What do you think of Canon being the brand that's kind of getting into this stuff? Because like, I know Sony has the ZV series, and I mean, Fuji makes the XM5 that's 800, 900, something like that. I guess Nikon probably has something kind of in the same price range. But I mean, with the PowerShot V1 and this, it feels like Canon's like making this big push into, like more affordable video focused, like content creator type cameras. And I guess I'm a little surprised that of every brand out there, Canon's the one going after that market.
It doesn't really surprise me too much. I mean, sure, Sony has the ZV line that they've been pushing for a while, and I don't know how successful those are and how frequently they're used. I'm sure they get a lot of traction, but you go back to Casey Neistat original days. I mean, he was shooting on Canons. The 70D, 60D, 80D were very popular vlog cameras for people, and those are just like interchangeable lens DSLR cameras that people were buying, but like good out of camera look. They were popular, and that was like what internet vlog stuff kind of grew up on.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of those options disappeared with the advent of RF mount. And so we kind of went through, like a little bit of a dark period where maybe the RP or the EOS R was kind of like the only thing, and then maybe you're shooting with still a 70D. The RF is like the 50 RF was okay. Like the Canon 7D is good, but those are expensive.
Yeah.
People who wanted to buy like a Rebel or a U60D for less than $1,000 and get into doing some sort of vlog stuff was a market that Canon was in. And I feel like they're finally getting around to fill, like they've just been filling out that RF line for years. It takes a long time to make all these cameras.
Yeah. And lenses, and they finally have more like APS-C RF lenses that are actually affordable enough to make sense on these cameras, which is another big like piece of the puzzle.
I think that Canon is seeing the huge surge in like PowerShot G whatever Mark IIIs and people who want compact cameras from them, and just that market blowing up. They know that the sub $1,000 vlogger video market exists and is something that they need to serve. I think that the PowerShot V1 and this pretty well merge kind of those two target audiences to maybe give Canon a little more of a base to justify having something in this range. And I think this is like this and the PowerShot V1 are I think decently address that market. I don't know if they're going to have the same impact on the people who just want to buy something for nostalgia reasons, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I'm not like, wow, Canon's doing this thing. Sure. I mean, Canon's going to serve them. Canon's one of the biggest camera companies out there.
Well, I think it's pretty neat. I'm glad they released it. It feels like they could have gotten by with just doing the PowerShot V1, and I feel like this R50 V was kind of a bonus. But to me, it's the more interesting of the two. And I guess I'm a little surprised at how cheap it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the price that it needs to be. There's no, like, you can't release something like this for $1,000. There's no way. Now you're all of a sudden competing with an XM5, an XS20, the A6700. Those are all roughly $1,000. They have EVFs, much better video cameras. Much better video cameras. This had to come in cheaper for what it is.
Well, it's definitely more appealing because of the price.
Yeah, definitely. I did make a list just to have the lens conversation about this thing because, when I think about RF mount, the first thing I think of is that they don't have any APS-C lenses. And if you're buying a super, super compact camera, what camera lens are you going to put on it that makes any sort of sense?
The 24-105 f2.8, mega
sure.
lens.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the lens. Why? I mean, you spend all the money on the lens. Why not save some cash on the body?
Yeah, you'll basically just be carrying the lens around with this tiny little camera clipped on the end.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't even have to hold the camera. So I did a quick run through on what lenses that you may be able to buy for this thing. I find it a little annoying that all of the RFS lenses that Canon makes are basically f4.5 to f6.3.
Yeah, it does seem like they're a fan of those slow apertures.
They just don't make fast APS-C lenses, and I don't understand why. If you're gonna make the sacrifice for the sensor size, why also put a slow lens on it?
Yeah,
I guess like it's cheaper. They can save money. I don't know.
It's funny because I was thinking I literally just bought an f4.5 to 6.3 lens, but mine's full frame.
Yeah, and like you can get those things way smaller at those apertures. I don't know. I wish the Canon had some faster options, something that was like f4 all the way through. I don't know. Anyway, they released a new lens with this, which is the 14 to 30 4.5 to 6.3 power zoom. So that's an APS-C, really compact power zoom lens, and it's like $330.
Yeah,
as OIS.
It probably that's probably a good pairing for this camera. I mean, I'm sure it's the kit lens, right? And it seems like a pretty good fit.
Yeah, you can't do what not Sigma. You can't do what Panasonic did and release like the S9 and don't have a lens for it. Here's a super compact camera. We don't have any compact lenses. Whoops.
Yeah, that was kind of goofy on their part.
A little bit. So they did it. Here's a 14 to 30. Fine. I don't think that's maybe the best lens for this, other than if you need the power zoom. If you need the power zoom, sure.
Yeah, but why are you power zooming from 14 to 30? It's not great.
You never know. It makes it when you put the 14 to 30 on this thing, it's like the same price and basically the same range and light gathering capability as the PowerShot V1. Yeah. Maybe like a little better light gathering capability, but it's close enough that it's kind of comparable.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, you could instead get the RFS 18 to 45 f4.5 to f6.3.
So a little bit, not as wide, but a little bit more of a range.
Yeah, a little more of a range. Image stabilized, basically the same price. So there's options. It's not power zoom. There's also a 24 to 50 4.5 to 6.3.
Okay.
And that one is also stabilized. So there's three reasonable zooms here, 14, 18, and 24 starting range. So you can kind of, a little bit of a workable option. Cool that they have basically 5 zooms that you can decide from. Because there's those 3, but there's also a 10 to 18 and a 55 to 210.
Oh.
Those are also equally slow, 4.5 to 6.3.
55 to 210, f5 to f7.1. That's not great.
I think it's funny that the 3 mid-range zooms, the 18 to 10, 24 to 50, 18 to 45, and 14 to 50 are all 4.5 to 6.3.
Yeah. I don't know. Weird choice, maybe.
At least there's options.
Yeah.
There is the 24 to 105 f4 to f7.1.
Kind of seems a little more appealing to me.
That to me, I mean, yes, it's 24 millimeters on APS-C. That lens is more geared towards the cheaper full frame options. I think 24 millimeter is going to be more of a mid range, but I like 24 to 105 on APS-C. It's like what is it, like 30 on? It's 1.6 crop on Canons. They're a little tighter crop on APS-C, but you're talking like 37 or 35 to like, I don't know, 150. That's a nice little mid telephoto to telephoto range. And that lens is small. It's like 3.5 inches long, and it's like $400.
It seems like a pretty good pairing.
Yeah, to me, I kind of like that as an option for this if it was just a carry around, but no, I guess you lose the power zoom. The real lenses that, in my opinion, work best for this are the Sigma and Tamrons.
Yeah.
Sigma makes all those primes. You get the 23, the 56, and the 35 all at, or the 30 millimeter all at 1.4.
Mm-hmm.
They're very cheap. You can get the 18 to 50 at f2.8.
Which we both have used on X-mount.
Yep, I still own it. Good lens. There's the Tamron 11 to 20 and the Sigma 10 to 18 that are both f2.8. Yeah. To me, that's a way better buy. Like I would rather have the Sigma 10 to 18 f2.8 over this RFS 14 to 30.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the weight compares. Maybe the RFS is a little lighter and it's probably a little cheaper, but on APS-C, I'd really rather have f2.8.
For sure. You want the f2.8, and this thing doesn't have any image stabilization as far as, sensor image stabilization. Yeah. If you buy the power zoom lens, I think that one has IS or OIS. The camera does have Canon's EIS stabilization, but that comes with like a 1.1 crop. And if you're trying to do any sort of vlogging stuff, 14 mil with an 1.6 crop and then another 1.1 crop on top of that, you're getting close to 30 mil, which
you better have some long arms.
Yeah, it's a bit of a distance. You're going to need to be probably about 3 feet away from the camera, which is kind
Selfie
of
stick.
Pushing it if you want it to be like on your desk, like behind your monitor, or you want to hand hold it, it's pushing it. Whereas if you have like the Sigma or the Tamron where it starts at 10 or 11 millimeters, now you're getting closer to that full frame equivalent of like 20.
Yeah.
And that is much more workable for some sort of like wide look. Plus you're getting 2.8, so you're going to have more of a better depth of field.
Yeah.
I really think those third-party RF options make this a lot more appealing as a camera choice, and is maybe a good reason why Canon should open up the RF mount to full-frame lenses.
Yeah, well, I mean, it clearly is working out well for them here because they have opened it up for APS-C, and yeah, these seem like great lens options to have for this camera that Canon just doesn't make.
True, but maybe that is a detractor for them. Canon does make a 16 to 28 f2.8, but it's 1140. It is like 3 times the price of the Sigma and the Tamron.
Yeah, that feels like a different class of lens.
It is, and they also make a 24 to 240. That's good. Like as far as RF zooms, where what zooms does Canon make that are less than $1,000? And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this list. 7 RF zooms that are less than $1,000, and I think that the Sigma and the Tamron options are the better choice compared to all of those Canon options, which is like maybe that's a reason for Canon not to open up their mount otherwise. I think that their full frame lenses are really competitive, but their APS-C lenses, just there's no premium in quotes option from Canon. They basically look at their APS-C lenses as a cheap way to get into RF class, whereas you could buy the Sigma or the Tamron and they just faster, maybe better optically, and just seem like much better options.
I mean, I feel like the same thing would be true on full frame. I a while back, I kind of price compared RF full frame lenses against, like E mount and L mount and stuff. And honestly, I mean, yeah, in some cases the RF one was 100 or 200 more, but like really the prices were pretty comparable when you're comparing like Canon RF full frame lens to like Sony G Master or Lumix S Pro or whatever. And so, yeah, like I feel like they compete just fine at the high end. And I feel like if they were to open up the mount, they would lose out on like the lower end of stuff. And you'd have Sigma and Tamron coming in and making, like a decently good 24 to 70, and kind of like taking the lower end of that market. And I don't know whether Canon, I mean, we've talked many times about like, why has Canon not done this? But I mean, maybe they don't want like that lower end being served because some people would buy that instead of the expensive one. But I don't know. I feel like if people want a pro lens, they'd be willing to pay the money. And Canon's RF pro lenses are like perfectly competitive with everything else.
It does make the lens options that are in the RF dash, like the RFS line, or even like the sub $1,000 smaller lens line, makes this camera feel less premium. Like it's their low, like really low end, but they kind of just like make it the low end. I guess people aren't necessarily buying like super high end lenses in these categories and then buying these cameras. But it seems like Canon has just resigned themselves to that if you're going to buy a RF50 V or an R50 or an R100 or an R10, then you don't want fast lenses that are like really good optically. You would rather compromise on speed and on price.
Yeah, and maybe weight. Like I'm sure these lenses are like plasticky and lightweight, which like before this show, you were looking at my new 18-40 for the S9. And one thing that's appealing about that lens is that it weighs almost nothing. So I could see that being the case where like, you know, somebody that's getting into one of these cameras wants a cheaper lens because maybe they just wouldn't be interested if they're having to pay, you know, the price of the camera for a lens. And maybe they also want something that's like really portable, really lightweight. But, you know, in some ways they kind of shoot themselves in the foot a little bit because, you know, now you've got this camera with a slow lens, and in the case of the R50 V, the screen isn't very good. And I just feel like maybe that combination like isn't going to lead to a like joyful like experience of using the camera, in the sense that, you know, people are gonna be like, why are my shots so noisy, and why don't they look good when I look at them on the back of the screen? And like, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm curious, like for people that use these Canon RFS lenses, like, are they happy with that purchase, or is it kind of like, well, I cheaped out and I kind of like feel like I'm getting photos and video that look like I cheaped out?
I just feel like it doesn't encourage people up the line. If you could buy, like, sure, maybe you buy the Canon lens that comes with it. Like you get the 14 to 30, 4.5 to 6.3. You start doing some video stuff and you're like, you know what? I kind of wish I had maybe a lower depth of field look, or I want like a sharper lens, or I want to buy a prime. And I guess like I didn't list the primes on here. The 80 millimeter, 85 millimeter to f2, the 50 millimeter, like those are great lenses, and those kind of work you up the market. But as far as zooms, it seems like there's nothing really here that you might buy where later on you go, I want to buy a better camera. I'm going to buy a Canon R7. It's still APS-C, but it is a really good APS-C camera and takes super good video and great photos. Let me bring my lenses with me as I graduate up to an R7.
Using your terrible RFS.
Like, I don't think that any of these lenses, other than the third-party ones, and like maybe, okay, like the 24 to 105 f4 to f2.7.1, yes. But the other ones, like all the RF-S lenses, it feels like their APS-C stuff is just, I don't know. When I look at the list here, the ones that say RF, not RF-S, which are the full-frame lenses, those seem like those would follow you up market just fine. All the RF-S ones, not so much.
Yeah, kind of agree.
I don't know.
I think it was kind of the same with EF, because Canon had EF-S, and it was a pretty similar sort of deal where like the lenses just weren't as good, and they weren't even compatible with every camera, I don't think. And yeah, I don't know. It's not. I guess it's not a new strategy for them, but it still doesn't make sense to me.
This kind of makes me want to get a little bit into this topic that I've had on the list for a little bit. Maybe we can spend a few minutes on it, which is like if you can buy full frame lenses and you can use them on an APS-C camera, then like what's the deal with APS-C lenses? And that's like kind of the exact case here for the R50 V. You can buy any RF mount lens for this camera, and it's a full frame mount. So like you can buy the 85 millimeter f2 or the 50 millimeter 1.8 or whatever it is, which are full frame lenses and they're full frame compatible, but you're putting it on APS-C. I sometimes see online and other places where it's like people kind of complain about, like, I have an APS-C camera, why am I putting full frame lenses on it? Is like, what's the big deal? Is that a problem? Like, should people just buy full frame lenses and stick them on these cameras?
Well, I guess it comes down to size and weight, right? Size, weight, and price. Because
Yeah.
I mean, like your full frame lens is going to be bigger. Like maybe it has a bigger filter thread. Like the body of the lens may just be larger. I mean, part of why you like Fuji is because the lenses are so small, and a full frame lens like can't really be as small, right?
Do you think that like Sony, Canon, Nikon are all doing this thing, and not Panasonic, all are doing this thing now where they have one lens mount and it's a full frame lens mount, but they're using APS-C
Sony did
cameras
that first,
with
I think, and the others kind of followed suit.
Right, and Sony more like crammed the full frame sensor into it, and the other ones kind of designed around full frame and then made the APS-C cameras. You're inherently just making those APS-C lenses have to be bigger because of the size of the mount. Do you feel like if you put a full frame lens on an APS-C camera, you're just wasting glass? Like you're like, I'm only shooting through the center of the lens circle. Like I'm not using all of the glass. Therefore, I wasted my money because I'm not getting my money's worth of glass.
Usually the center of the lens is sharper, and you may also get like less vignetting or something. So like you're probably getting a better result, not to mention being able to reuse that lens on a different camera later.
So if you are in one of these systems, EZ, RF, should you just be buying full frame lenses because one, it gives you the option to go full frame later, and two, you're getting a better, sharper image because you're cutting the middle of that circle?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on your goals. Like I feel like that's what I would do, and that's what you would do. But we also know that if we were in a system like that, we would probably be buying a full frame camera sooner or later. So like we're clearly going to get the benefit of that upgrade path. But if somebody's priority is saving money and having something that's really compact, then maybe that's the place where the APS-C lenses make sense.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a trade-off, and you have to understand, what am I getting out of shooting full frame, I guess? Like you're just going to have a heavier lens. Maybe you get a sharper image. Yeah. I don't know. I think that for this camera specifically, for the R50 V, that I would buy Canon primes. Maybe, I don't know. I think it would be a hard decision, but I would probably buy like the RF 50 millimeter. Was it 1.8?
Yeah, they do make some primes that are pretty affordable.
Yes, they do. I would buy the RF 50 millimeter 1.8 over something like the Sigma 56 millimeter 1.4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That one, so the Sigma is probably going to be sharper and a little faster, but the RF50 is like $200.
Yeah,
and it's a full frame lens.
Yep.
So
and I know like they have a 35 that's capable of doing macro. They also have the 85. The 85 is like $600, but it's f2. It's a really good lens.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think those would be good choices.
There's also the Typox Samara 35 millimeter f1.4, which is manual focus and has like a little tab on it, and it's silver, and it's like a Leica lens. That would be fun for this. What's that new lens that they came out with? The 35 millimeter 1.4 full frame like video focus lens?
Yeah, they came out with one of those hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hybrid lenses.
What are $1,500 or something?
Yep.
Do you think that's the perfect lens for this? You could get around all of the horrible vignetting that lens has.
There you go.
Maybe.
Perfect.
Maybe. I don't know if an APS-C crop would actually avoid the vignetting.
Maybe it's even worse. That's not possible.
No, I think that would not be possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like I guess I keep thinking about like why would you pick one over the other? And I do think there's a place for both types of lenses, but like I understand why they have them, but I feel like for most people, if you're getting a camera like this, if you ever think you might get a full frame camera, you are better off with those full frame lenses. Yeah,
it's a little more feature forward, but you are spending more money for something that weighs more. And if you don't need that much glass, like I don't know.
Yeah.
If for these full frame mounts, are these lenses actually smaller? Like, are you able to get a smaller APS-C lens that mounts to full frame?
I feel like I've seen some lens designs where like the body of the lens kind of like goes in from the mount. Mm-hmm. Like I have the Sigma 45 sitting right here, and this is a full frame lens, but like the mount is the largest, like the widest part of that lens. Mm-hmm. I've had some other lenses like that too. The 42.5 for Micro Four Thirds was the same way. So, I mean, like physically it is possible to kind of like minimize the size of the lens mount. But I haven't looked at pictures of these APS-C lenses, so I don't know like how often people actually do
they
that.
flare the other way.
Of course they do.
I don't know if they do. I'm just guessing.
They probably do.
Anyway, so cool. Yeah, R50V. I don't know. 7 out of 10. way to go.
I think it's a neat camera. I mean, I'm not getting it because I'm not in RF, but like, I think it fills a spot, and I think it's more interesting than the PowerShot V1.
I was going to say the opposite. I think the R50 V is a good for the bottom of the market option for people who need a video camera. They want good colors. They want those Canon colors. Great. I like the PowerShot V1 more from like a vlog, always have with you camera standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as a replacement for their top end, like other like old, PowerShot G whatever cameras, I think the PowerShot V1 is like more interesting. It's like, here's a cool point and shoot, and
it's a smaller sensor, but I guess like the trade-off is that you get the lens. Like you don't ever have to think about all this like lens discussion because you're not changing the lens on that camera. So I guess it's just like you just get an all-in-one package that does what you need.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the compact point and shoot over the interchangeable lens.
Yeah, funny that we're different on that, but
yeah,
cool cameras.
Cool cameras.
That's it for the show today. Thanks for joining us, and if you liked it, tell a friend so they can check it out too. You can find out more about the show at www.cameragearpodcast.com, and you can find us on Twitter @CameraGearPod. We'll be back with more next week.